Quiet Liz here again, and today I wanted to pick something technically not trans related, but came about as a result of my transitioning. Um, Prior to transitioning, I was monogamous. Um, I mean, faithful monogamous. The concept kind of it, it was a given, right? I mean, it's sort of how society, at least several years ago, maybe less so now, insisted how things are supposed to be. So I guess in that aspect, it kind of relates to whole trans and breaking norms in the sense of like, well, I'm going to be me and do what works for me, and maybe others see it that way too. Um, so while I was monogamous, stuff didn't really sort of add up necessarily, but I was ignorant and I didn't know any better. I didn't know there were other options, so to speak. I mean, I knew about polygamy. It was kind of like, I mean, I guess it's still kind of a running joke of a thing to have like multiple spouses. I don't know. If it makes people genuinely happy and everyone is consenting, cool. Go have fun. Um, that's my view on just about pretty much anything. So yeah, that includes polygamy too. But uh, not what I'm. Anyways, tangents. So while I was monogamous, was faithful. Whatever the relationship dynamic was, we kind of came to. One of the things that was at the time not really healthy was the notion of like omitting things, omitting feelings, desires, whatever it may be. You're with that person and you're supposed to make everything work, and if it doesn't work, then you either haven't found the right person or you learn to settle. That's what I took from it, anyways. If, they didn't like Taco Bell, but they liked Del Taco, depending on how picky you were, you're unhappy not getting Taco Bell, or you could live with Del Taco. Um, I don't know why I go to food. Maybe I'm hungry. um, but that concept was essentially what was pushed upon me as the way things are supposed to be, the way things work. And one of the first instances that didn't really resonate very well with me in that sense was my first girlfriend at the time was interested in like role playing, casual role play, but like think Dungeons and Dragons type of role play, not like kinky, sexy role play stuff. Um, and at the time, while I can write creative stories and do stuff like that, it wasn't something I was interested in. And so the aspect was she would hang out with friends and got to do that and have fun. That concept worked for me. Like that was an idea. I was like, "Oh, okay, I don't want to do this, but you have friends you can go do this with. That's cool." Neither one of us has to settle. I don't have to do something I don't want to. You get to do something you do want to. It worked well. It made sense. Um, and one thing that was kind of like an interesting notion was that she wanted to save sex for marriage, which, for anyone who wants to, that's cool. Um, I understand the idea and how it can have value and virtue to some. It doesn't necessarily line up with me. I don't care for the concept of like virginity and chasteness, and that notion just doesn't fit with me. Um, so I was okay with that. There wasn't a problem with that notion of like, okay, I can understand waiting until marriage. As long as I get to take care of things on my own, we're good. Um, except that wasn't how it worked out. That's what we discussed and kind of agreed upon initially, but then comments and things would be said when I wanted to take care of things on a regular basis on my own. No one else was involved. I wasn't cheating on her with someone else. Um, I just had a high sexual drive, desire, whatever you want to call it. So I took care of it, but I got crap for that. And so it made me feel self conscious. It made me feel guilty, like I was doing something horrible. And I didn't think I was doing something horrible. Like it seemed normal to me, it seemed practical. I was like, okay, well, I have this desire and I can fulfill it in what I have thought to be a safe way of doing so. Why am I not feeling happy about it? Why is this not working for us? And that was just like one of the few things that kind of like stuck out, was just like the notion of like, well, you can do stuff with friends that your partner doesn't want to necessarily do, but what if you wanted to do something that your partner doesn't want to do on an intimate level? And I don't mean intimate like sexual related level, since I know I just brought that up, but I mean more of like, say, cuddling, or like watching a movie with a friend and holding each other, laying together, laying on their chest, or them laying on your chest, etc. The lists and things, they go on for the semantics. But that was wrong, because that's cheating. That's enough to be cheating on someone, and that didn't really resonate with me. Um, but it was taken for granted, and it just kind of like didn't work. And after I came out as trans, that's kind of like the gateway. um, it opened the door to like exploring things that were wrong, that society insisted was not the way things are, and I began to question things. And it's like, well, what if someone could be happy loving two people? I mean, I have two kids. I love two kids. I love them both. I don't love one and then not the other. I mean, we do this with food. We like to eat lots of different foods. We don't just pick one. I mean, okay, some people might pick one, and if you do, cool, more power to you. I need variety in food. Um, and I think a lot of people do, at least people I've been exposed to. So sorry if you're cool with just the one food thing. I'm not trying to offend you. But yeah, like there's a lot of things in life that we look at and we choose different things, multiple toys, multiple activities, things. We don't do the same thing every day. Um, and so that notion was like, well, why doesn't that extend to romantic relationships, intimate relationships, and that sort? Like, why can't I have someone I'm in love with that our basis for a relationship happens to be that we get together, watch movies, and cuddle? Maybe we make out. And then I have someone else that we might do that too, but we also have sex. Or we like to go out and have dinner dates, etc. You know, the list goes on. That notion of like not necessarily having a fixed limit of one. Um, uh, Personally, I will say that like with polyamory, and having multiple partners, there is a limit, because life gets in the way. I mean, you need money to pay bills. You need to take care of things. Life comes up. I have kids. They're my priority. So the amount of relationships I can or can't have, I mean, this is just like with friendships. It varies. Some people can handle several. Some people can handle a few. Some people can handle maybe two. Or maybe they just have one relationship and their partner happens to have multiple relationships and they're cool with that. That synergized really well with me as like I began to explore polyamory. Is that like there's no one way to do it. There's variety, there's freedom of choice and options in that sense, and that always felt really good to me. And what I've found is that not limiting myself to one also changed expectations in the way that I saw relationships. Um, uh, I mentioned it earlier in terms of like the feeling of like someone having to settle for something versus not. I could love someone's personality and being around them and not have sex because maybe they're waiting till marriage, or they just don't like sex because they're, asexual. And the concept of them giving a partner sex because the partner wants sex might be okay with them, but not having it is also okay with them. And from my point of view is we don't have to do anything that we're not both going to enjoy in and of itself. I can find someone else to do that with, and we can still have everything else. And I don't know, that always like sat really well with me and fits. Maybe someday that might change, but the one thing that, several things is kind of amusing that like polyamory is an excuse. It's a gateway to be able to have hookups and open relationships and such. And that's one way to have it. That's one way to do it. For me, I need the intimacy and the consistent partner. While there are times that I can have like a ooh, that person looks really cute or pretty beautiful, or I am aroused because whatever outfit they're wearing just happened to pique my interest, etc. Anything beyond like that just quick little snap of like, oh, there's that, and it fleeting moment. Yeah, fleeting moment. I need the personality. So for me, poly is having multiple long-term partners that we all have some overlap and unique dynamics. I guess in relevance of that, and I have more than one partner. I'll just leave it at that. And it makes me happy. It makes me happy to take care of, on various levels, multiple partners. It's kind of interesting. Like, I get my life is more complicated because I now have multiple dynamics that I worry about, multiple personalities that I have to take into account, but that makes me happy. And I mean, if poly works for you, like it does for me, cool. If monogamy works for you, also cool. Neither one's bad. Neither one really hurts anyone. At least I don't think at its core. I'm sure we can pervert things to make them harmful, but whatever makes you happy is kind of like the big deal. So, yeah, I just wanted to take a little bit of time to talk about that. If you have any questions or whatnot, feel free to ask in the comments. And I'll work on other topics and such. At some point, I know I want to get to the topic of coming out at work. But I'm still struggling with that one, so bear with me in that sense. In any case, that's it for today. Bye!